The most important leadership lesson of my life didn't happen in a meeting or a leadership program or a book. It happened on the floor of a nursery with my daughter in my arms. She wasn't speaking. She had been crying all day. When I picked her up, there were still tear stains on her face. I remember holding her, waiting for words that never came. But then she did something instead. She pressed her face into my chest and became completely still. In that moment, I understood her completely. Not because she said anything, but because she didn't need to. My daughter is autistic, and she has taught me more about leadership than any book, seminar, or job title ever has. Leadership books never prepared me for this. They taught me how to speak, how to persuade, how to lead from the front. But loving my daughter forced me to slow down, to listen differently, and to let go of what I thought my life was supposed to look like and how it was going to be. I had to meet her where she is, not where I expected her to be, and do the same with myself. And I realized something humbling. What my daughter needed from me is what most human beings need from their leaders: to be seen, to be heard, exactly as they are. Around the same time I was navigating this new world I found myself in, I was working as a senior executive in Citi, the global American bank, and managing to build a successful career. My professional and personal worlds collided in a way that was to have a profound impact, not just on what I did, but who I was and how I worked with the people around me. I was leading a talented, energetic team at work. Our meetings were lively, full of debate, ideas, and fast voices. But there was one team member who rarely spoke. She'd sit there quietly, taking notes, eyes down. And I had assumed she was disengaged. However, being a mother to my daughter now and managing her needs, it had made me much more aware of the silence in a room than the noise. So one day, after a meeting to discuss a particularly complex project, I reached out to her. I said, "You don't really talk much in the meetings, and I'd really love to hear what you think." She hesitated, looked at me suspiciously, but took out her notes. They were full of ideas, connections we hadn't made, possibilities we hadn't even discussed. Her insights reframed our entire project. She had been processing things just differently. That day changed me, and it changed how I led. Because brilliance doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it sits quietly in the corner, waiting for an invitation. And as leaders, it's our responsibility to offer that invitation. Autism has taught me that people don't all communicate the same way, and great leadership isn't just about getting everyone to think like you, which, if I'm honest, is how I had approached most leadership roles in my career up until that point. It's about creating environments where every kind of mind can thrive. Because when we include different ways of thinking, we expand what's possible. At home, I was learning the same lesson, this time with my daughter. When she was younger and we were navigating the world of early diagnosis, I tried to communicate with her through words, questions, stories, narration. I was forcing interaction in the way that I had been taught was quote unquote normal. And then one day I realized something profound. She had been communicating with me all along, just not with words. Her language was presence. She communicated through touch, through emotion, through how she experienced the world. One afternoon, after a particularly challenging day at nursery, I picked her up. She had been misunderstood all day in an environment that was failing to understand her needs. The signs were still on her face, where those tear stains still lingered. I held her, and I can still recall now, nearly 16 years later, her nestling her face into my chest and saying nothing. No words, just connection. In that moment, I knew exactly what she needed. Not fixing, not explaining, not going to advocate and solve all the world's wrongs. She just needed me to be fully there. That moment changed how I parented, and it changed how I led. Because leadership, like parenting, can't always be about speaking and instructing. Sometimes it's about feeling. It's about noticing the energy in a room, the unspoken needs, the things people can't always put into words. My daughter has taught me that empathy isn't just understanding what someone says or how they feel. It's being present enough to sense what they're trying to tell you when words fall short. That's what leadership is: presence. My journey with autism has helped me to see that truly effective leadership is built on curiosity, not certainty. It's the willingness to say, I don't fully understand, but I am willing to learn. And admitting I did not have all the answers was extremely empowering, dare I say liberating, for all aspects of my life, not just work. I saw difference not as a problem to fix, but as a perspective to embrace. The teams I've worked with have produced amazing things, and it wasn't because they all spoke the same. It's because they all came with a different perspective and a different view. My daughter doesn't fit easily into the world as it's currently designed, but she's teaching me, one interaction at a time, how to redesign it. For a long time, we've celebrated leaders who are confident, charismatic, quick with answers, loud with certainty. But autism has taught me that leadership isn't just about commanding attention. It's about paying attention. So I want to leave you with a question today. In your homes, in your teams, in your classrooms, who isn't being heard right now? Whose brilliance might you be overlooking simply because it doesn't sound like yours? Leadership isn't just about lighting a path for others. It's about walking together, each of us bringing our own way of seeing. And if there is one thing my daughter has taught me and continues to teach me every single day, if we can learn to see differently, we can learn to lead differently.